Welcome to Vets to PM's Military Transition Academy podcast, the show where we discuss how to succeed in transitioning from the military service to the civilian workforce. This show and the academy it represents helps veterans transition into meaningful, lucrative post-service careers. Your primary host is Eric Doc Wright, PhD, certified manager, military veteran, serial founder, best-selling business author, philosopher, linguist, and coach. Your other host is Jeremy Burdick, project management professional, Scrum Master, product owner, and retired Air Force chief, and the current COO of Vets to PM and the Professional Development Unit University, where we will interview veterans successful in corporate America and business to bring you nuggets of wisdom every episode to make you more successful. Next, let's introduce today's guest. Our guest today is Katty, and she is an Air Force veteran who recently transitioned and retired from 22 years of active duty service. She spent her time in the Air Force as a maintenance production manager, then utilized her last 3 months as a SkillBridge Program Manager at Walt Disney. Katty then transitioned to Data Analyst role that she is currently in and enjoying. She's almost finished with her bachelor's degree. She's a certified Scrum Master, completed the Veterans Entrepreneurship Initiative's launch certification course, and she works well in a team, as a mentor, as a leader. She also loves spending time with her daughter in amusement parks, playing sports, being on the beach, going to concerts, and dancing. Let's get started. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Katty. So excited to have you. And for everybody out in MTA Nation, before we get too far into the weeds, she's got a history with Vets to PM, tried to get in the SkillBridge program, but also landed the Disney internship. So I want to talk about that for sure. And then some more interesting stuff that you have. But let's just kind of go through your story. Air Force veteran, retired. So that's really cool. Talk to me about your specialty in the Air Force. What did you do? What was your favorite parts? And, what did you not like that caused you to leave at 22 rather than stay 30, for example?
Sure. Thanks for having me, by the way, Jeremy. It's nice to officially meet you. And I'm really excited to be here. But yes, my transition journey went pretty smoothly. But of course, there was some anxiety mixed in there with like fear of the unknown and trying to get everything situated. But yeah, I did 22 years active duty Air Force. I didn't go past that because I couldn't I couldn't go past that. But even if I could, I wouldn't. It was wonderful. I would do it all over again. It's just a lot. The military is a lot. So so it was time to retire, and it was kind of a bittersweet feeling and moment, to really, finally get into the groove, like, hit the button, as we call it, and retire. But yeah, so I had read a book, and I honestly forgot what it's called. I think it's called 90 Days to the Job You Love, or something like that. I forget, I'm sorry. But one thing that stood out in that book was that the job that you want, or you want to land, you have to like get your name out there multiple times. So that really stuck out to me. And so when I was applying for SkillBridge, what I would do is I would apply to the through the website. Then I would find like that contact on LinkedIn and like connect with them on LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to apply for SkillBridge. Then I would try to like call them. Then I want to try to email their, the company. So that's kind of how I like got my name out there, per se. So that's what I did with Disney. And it's crazy because I had gone through, I was getting like mentored from different people through Veterati, the mentoring, the mentoring program that they have. So that I was getting mentored through different people. And one of the guys that I spoke to was like, hey, have you thought of Disney? Because I'm not like a huge Disney freak, but I do love Disney. So it wasn't like my dream to work with them, per se. So I was like, no, I haven't thought about it. I didn't think to apply for them. And he was like, yeah, you should look into it. Maybe it'll be a good fit. So after I talked to him, I was like, okay, I'll look into it. So I did. And again, I applied to the SkillBridge. I looked up the contacts and got, their LinkedIn information. I emailed them, I messaged them, everything. So the guy that was doing he was like in charge of SkillBridge through Disney at the time, when he reached back out to me, he was like, hey, you really stood out to me because you were like really seeking this, like it looked like you really wanted it. Yeah, so that was like, okay, that works, so so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So yeah, so that's how I got that position. It was basically through that book that was saying, get your name out there. And it was, networking and messaging. And so, yeah, so I ended up getting a 3-month internship at Disney. And it was wonderful, wonderful experience for sure.
Yeah, you gotta give us the title and the author, and I'll put it in the comments below for anybody out there after the fact. So don't worry now. But what really stood out to me, and I really like how you put it, is you got to get your name out there, not just once, not just twice. I think there's, according to the business development body of knowledge, it's like 72 times before they have to hear and see something like Nike, then I can go buy the shoe, right? It's not a one time. That's not a hard rule, but it's a pretty good systematic thing in your brain to where you begin to build trust and empathy with that person. So I really like the tactic. Reach out. Don't just do, hey, apply, email, try to find somebody on LinkedIn, try to connect with them on Facebook, try to do something, you kind of use all your tools in your tool set. So I'm sure there's a point where you become an irritant, but at the same time, it's like, hey, the wound gets the bandage, right? Like the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I mean, we've probably all heard that term. So sometimes you just got to keep on until you get a hard no. So I really like that. Great advice to anybody. You want something, go for it. Right? Don't just do a fire and forget.
Yeah, for sure. And it was I ended up being their SkillBridge program manager. So for the 3 months I was there. So and it's funny because the same way that I kind of got into the Disney SkillBridge program is the same way that I because there's so many applicants, it's kind of hard to scrub through them all. Yeah. So if people would like email me or on LinkedIn, like, hey, I'm interested or whatever, that's kind of how we picked them, really, is because there's just so many. It's hard to pick through, hundreds of people. You're just like, I can't, look at 100 resumes right now. So, yeah, that's kind of how we ended up, for the most part, picking them out. And if they reached out to us, so it was like on LinkedIn, or they would email one of us, or email the contact that was on the SkillBridge website, email that person, or however they reached out to us, they would like email us or get on LinkedIn and stuff. And that's how those people, basically, I would look them up first and just go through their resumes first. And if they were a good fit, I would go with them usually.
Wow. So, wow. Yeah. Great intel, right? I mean, look at it from the hiring manager's perspective. And we're not talking just internships, but also when you're trying to get a job. It's like I had to sift through 1,000 resumes. My job is to turn 1,000 into 100, 100 into 10, 10 into 5, right? As quickly as humanly possible, because I got day job, right? So
yeah. And basically that was it, because I usually would, give like 1 to 3 candidates for the people who were taking on an intern. So it was just hard because it's going to take a long time, obviously, going through over 100 resumes and stuff. So I tended to kind of steer towards the people who are just contacting us mostly. Again, not all the time, but for the most part. So they were the ones getting the opportunities.
Yeah, well, it sends a brain signal too that, hey, this person really wants it. Like they really, when I send them an email back, they're probably going to respond, rather than someone who just submitted, probably doesn't check their civilian email very often. And it's been weeks, I haven't heard from them. I got to move on. Like there is,
exactly.
we don't have time for that. Well, too cool. So tell me a little bit about the experience inside of Disney, what you can tell, what you enjoyed about it. And, would you recommend other people to take that same internship path?
Yeah, sure. So I was there for 3 months, and it was a very, like, the culture change from military to working at Disney was so huge. It was like a culture shock. So basically everybody I ran into loved their job and loved working for Disney. Again, I was working with, in a building. It was like more like professionals and stuff. So it was more like career, workers. So it was a definitely huge, change in culture. And but it was nice. It was very nice because it was kind of like hybrid, like online, I mean, work from home and physically going in. So that was kind of a nice transition, and it was different. And they, I got to go to like some, work meetings and Zoom calls and stuff. And it was just nice to get like a different perspective. And then it was really interesting to learn like bigger picture, how like things work, I guess, within Disney as a company and how they operate. So that was interesting to learn. I loved meeting, different people there. I did get a chance to kind of like, not shadow per se, but I did get a chance to work alongside with, I guess, to learn from the different like perspectives, like different jobs, different careers, like engineering, maintenance engineering, and just different, jobs, some management positions. So I would ask like, hey, would you mind, if I could come for like an hour? Can you just show me what you do? And it was just a huge eye opener to like the industry and how, things get, managed and ran in Disney. So, and it was kind of nice to learn different, perspectives of the like different areas. And it was cool to see some of the behind the scenes as well. I did go a few times to see like behind, the ride or whatever. So
Right.
it was very, very interesting. And I loved the opportunity that they gave me. I loved meeting everybody there. I have like a whole bunch of Disney contacts now in my LinkedIn, but it definitely kind of it was like a kind of I learned, different culture of, civilian culture, I guess, and
Yeah.
then learned a lot about, Disney as an organization and corporation itself, the company, and then also just met a lot of people and learned a lot of different aspects of how they manage the parks and how
That's
everything gets done. So that was really, really interesting. And it didn't even touch like 10% of the whole corporation because it's so much, but it was
right.
definitely really interesting. And it was a
It's
great
vast.
opportunity.
It's a vast thing, and they even have like the Disney University, like it's a completely like it's their training, and then they've got so many different divisions. So what a
I
cool
got to train. Yeah, sorry. I got to train at the Disney University for one day. And I was like, man, this training day is the best training day ever because the training days in the military didn't compare to my training day at Disney. It was definitely fun.
Yes. How cool. How cool. The only thing I want to come back to was the culture shift, right? So the difference, like the contrast from, being active military and then going into a civilian organization. What are some of the biggest things that stood out, or any tips that you could give to a transition military individual is like, hey, do this, don't do that.
Yeah, I guess in the like area where I was working at, they like everybody kind of had their own space and office. So one of the biggest differences in the military, like they cram everybody in one room and give them a desk, or they cram everybody in a hangar or whatever your job is. So in the military, and I'm a very social person and a little bit more of an extrovert. So I kind of always had somebody to my left, to my right, in front of me, in the back of me, to like ask questions about work or, hey, let's do whatever. And then something, even just socialize a little bit. So, and then, but there's also in the military, everybody's mostly so like serious and they're just like the mission, let's get this done, get to the point, let's go, go, meetings, or, do whatever work and stuff. And at Disney, it was more like casual, even though they were very professional, but it was just more it wasn't as like fast paced, at least not where I was at. And it was a lot more casual. And it's funny because my first meeting, I was there like 10 minutes early. And the people were like coming in like at the time that I'm like, the meeting's supposed to be starting like right now. And people are like still coming in. So it was definitely a lot more of a casual culture, and it wasn't as fast paced. And I guess the camaraderie was different. I mean, I wasn't there enough to really get, the experience. And where I was at, it was, again, everybody kind of had their own space in office. So the camaraderie was different. And I was just more used to people. I don't know. I guess it's like you made like in the military, like it's like your coworkers were like your family, like instantly, like day one, you're like, hey, who's everybody? Who am I working with? Like, what are we working with here? Like, are we gonna all go out to lunch sometime, or what's going on? And at Disney, I didn't really get that sense of camaraderie. But then again, I was there for a short time, and I was in a location where everybody had their own like office and stuff. So I'm sure there's other factors.
A little bit more separated, a little bit more, my personal life versus my work life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas military, we tend to be very porous. Like, hey, you don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving? Come on, you're coming over to my house.
So I definitely felt a little bit more like family orientation type of culture in the military versus in Disney, and even in the company I'm at now. It's just there's nothing like, I don't know. It's just in the military. It's very we basically kind of treat each other like family,
right?
So
for the good things and the bad, right? I mean, it's like I'm gonna call you out because you didn't have your shoes laced right, or whatever else. So I like that. Meetings, right? So there's one tactical thing. Being there 30 minutes early probably is not going to save you. It's probably not going to do you any favors. Whereas in the military, being there early is like looked on like, hey, that's really great. You're a go-getter. Civilian world, you're just making other people look bad, right? Like, what are you doing here? You could be at work for another 15 minutes. Like, I'm here when it starts. So that's a great one. Probably a little fewer yes ma'ams, yes sirs. Going on more first name basis. It's more, like you said, casual is kind of what I'm picking up on.
Yeah, for sure. It's, even like the VP of the area I was at, it was just very first name. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So it's just it's different, but it wasn't like different in a bad way. It's just, it's just different. So
just different. So it's a bit of a culture shock when you walk into that. Whereas, if you're a civilian, you've grown up into it. So it's natural. So you kind of you have to cognitively project like what in your mind, like slow down, think about it for a second, and kind of immerse yourself and integrate into the company rather than try to bring all your military knife hands and salutes and, very directive language. And, so that's really, it's good intel for somebody that's about to transition is look around, see how other people are acting and, kind of mimic that a little bit.
For sure. And one of the things I was also kind of, because the guy that I was in contact with, was a guy. So when I first got there, I was like looking for the females. I'm like, how do they dress? What are they wearing? Because I didn't want to, be too dressy if that's not how they, how they are. And I didn't want to be too dressed down if, just wanted to kind of fit in as much as I can in that way. But yeah, it definitely, that very like aggressiveness and get to the point culture in the military is not like that. Right. So I think a big key factor, especially if you were in a leadership position, is to you're not unless you are going to transition smoothly straight into leadership position. But even if you are having that aggressive, get to the point aspect when you're speaking or presenting or whatever, is not how it is right. in the civilian sector. So
learning to recommunicate. It's going to be there's definitely a disparate or distance between the two, and maybe you start off a little lighter, a little more chit chat, and then get to, hey, we've got a deadline on this, and we'll see it in a month. Like, Oh, wait a minute. You mean not by close of business today? Like,
I know. And also like in one of the meetings, in one of the first meetings, it was like the first 5 minutes, we were just like chit-chatting, like, oh, how was your weekend? Da, da, da. What'd you do? Blah, blah. And I was just like, oh, okay, we're just talking about, like casual, life, personal life stuff. That's cool. Versus the military, like this, the second the meeting starts, it's like slide number one, let's go. What are we talking about? What's the status?
that's right. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Very different. Very different. So I agree. So that's kind of, it's like I said, it's good information. And I like what you're sharing so far. Talk to me just a little bit about like how the importance of that networking. You mentioned that it was really important to network to get the Disney. Have you continued that on? And what have you seen as a major benefit?
Sure. So yeah, I definitely have continued that on. It's kind of nice because it like with LinkedIn, I feel like I don't want to say the more the merrier either, because I'm more about quality than quantity, but it is kind of nice to just be like, oh, okay, like it'll be nice to connect with this person and that person, and maybe, I don't know, it's just I feel like the more connections are kind of could equal to opportunities, you know what I mean? And then also there's, just supporting each other, and the majority of my connections on LinkedIn are definitely military. Now I do have a lot more Disney, but for sure the majority of the military. But it's just nice to kind of have it, have those type of the connections on LinkedIn. So with Disney, again, I did reach out on LinkedIn and I emailed and I tried calling and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got that part. And then for the job that I have now, same thing. Like it was all networking. And I had put out on LinkedIn, like, oh, because I went to some like job fairs and stuff. So I had gone to like a Northrop Grumman one, and I was like, oh, I went to a Northrop Grumman, job fair. It was great. I got to meet these people and I tagged them and blah, blah. And it was, thanks for the, opportunities, whatever. And then one of my ex coworkers in the military saw it on LinkedIn and he was like, hey, I have a job like for you. He's like, I was supposed to go to interview, and I got this other job. So do you want to go to this interview? And I was like, wait, let me like read this first. What's going on? Like, what is it? So again, I landed the job I have now with networking.
Nice.
And yeah, it was definitely a blessing because it's a great job. And, I'm learning, growing, and, gaining opportunities there too. So it's great.
Yeah. So for everybody out in MTA Nation listening or watching, what Katty is saying is the importance of the network, but also being active in it. So what I heard was built a network. But then when you went to a job fair, you thanked the people at the job fair, tagged some of your contacts. That contact saw that action and was like, well, wait a minute. She's looking for a job. Right. So it's about communicating your needs as well. So sometimes we're really bad, or veterans tend to be really bad about saying, I need a hand, right? Or I need help. Does anybody know of an opening? Does anybody know of an opportunity? So somehow you were able to do that without sounding needy. Then it was like, bang, hey, I've got this opportunity. Are you ready? You had to like decipher, is this even an opportunity I want? Slow down. Let's look at this. And then you capitalized on it. So talk to me about the job now. What's going on?
So I work for a corporation called Red Horse, and I'm like a military maintenance specialist, I think it's called. But when I first got the job, it was called the Data Analyst. So basically the information that I'm analyzing is maintenance, aircraft maintenance, and that's where I worked in the military. So it kind of was pretty smooth transition into like something I'm more familiar with. So it was a great opportunity, and it's working from home. And as a social person as I am, I didn't think I was going to like it, because I was like, oh, I'm just going to try working from home. That's fine. I'll try it. But I do like it a lot. It's very flexible. That's kind of like what I like the most about it, is the flexibility of it. So there's meetings and things of that nature, but as long as, I do all the meetings, do my work, put the hours I'm supposed to put in. It's pretty flexible. So it's really great. And the company itself is really great. There's the benefits are great. I think they pay well. So my team is amazing. I want to say at least a third of them are veterans and the other 2/3 are not. But it's crazy how the range of age is so different than the military, because I was like, wait, I'm like noticing this change, and like half the guys have beards. Well, now that's changed in the Air Force at least. But yeah, so it's in the military, the oldest person you see is like maybe 50, you know what I mean? And like in the base, or at least in your chain of command, like maybe 50 years old or something around that nature. And in my team, I mean, I don't know how old they are per se, but I'm pretty sure there's a handful. There's a few that are above 50. So it's just like, okay, there's, a range of age here that I'm not used to. And also most of them, or all of them, are well, like, educated and professionals, so like the youngest one is not 17, 18 years old. So that's also a change, where I'm not working with a whole bunch of teenagers, basically. So that's kind of, nothing against teenagers, but that's kind of nice, to
Well,
not to have,
you're bringing some wisdom to it. So if you break it down a little bit, the military is get you out of high school, get you in, and then get you out on your first enlistment. At least for the Air Force, like 40%. For the Marines, Army, it's usually up to 60% of that first. They just want the young guys because their bodies don't break down when they're asked to do, like, strenuous stuff. Whereas in corporate America, where it's more for your mind, right? And you need the maturity level, and you don't have time, nor does the company, from a value perspective, to sit around and make sure that, hey, did you brush your teeth? Did you get up on time? Are you drug free? Like, they don't have time for that. It's a loss of money, a loss of return on investment on the hiring decision. So, I guess take that for advice too, right? The maturity matters when you're in a civilian employment, because every day has a little bit of value for you or for the company, right? And it's a transactional relationship. They're paying you money to provide them value, and that's why you're getting the paycheck. So
yeah, for sure, especially in a professional setting. Everybody I work with are very well educated and professional, and but still, could be very friendly and casual. Of course, they're very, very nice, but yeah, that's different, because in the military, especially when you're just like in a room with like 10, 20, however many people in this huge room or whatever, and you spend a lot of time with the same people every single day, like next to you and stuff. It's definitely it's almost like you become like their second parent, especially to the younger ones.
absolutely,
So
you babysit.
that culture change is also very different, and just kind of get used to, like, everybody's a professional here, and we, especially, I mean, of course it depends on your job, but for where I'm at, that was a change, and it was kind of nice, because I was like, oh, it's, even though I really do love to like train and mentor and stuff like that, and lead, it is kind of nice to be surrounded by a lot of very smart professional people that I could learn from, grow with, and they, there's some times that I'm, teaching them a thing or two, but for the most part, I'm definitely learning from a lot of them every day. So it's really nice to kind of be in that setting where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm the one that is like in the lower end, and everybody's like, has all these like education or whatever and experience in all these other areas, and I'm like starting to now grow into and learn. So it's a kind of nice opportunity there.
Yeah, yet another great topic, right? You bring up humbleness, essentially, as being willing to learn from others, regardless of your age or experience. Like, hey, I did this in the military for 20 years. I should be fine. Like, this is great. It's still okay to learn. It's still okay to start at the bottom and work your way up. What we have found with a lot of the veterans is they move up way faster than their counterparts because of that. But you don't usually jump right into it. Like, kind of, you alluded to it a little bit, is for the rare folks that jump into leadership, the communication styles got to change. There's a reason you said rare. Right? It just doesn't happen. You don't walk in and you're, hey, I'm in the C-suite just because I was an O6 or an E9 or something. It just doesn't work that way for the most part. So,
Yeah, for sure.
taking advantage of like some of the opportunities out there. What are some of the things that you took advantage of? And then like talk a little bit about veterans helping veterans.
Sure. So LinkedIn, I was on LinkedIn and there was a session about, learning how to use LinkedIn. And, so I took like a class that they were offering about, learn LinkedIn. And I met somebody through there and she invited me to then another session or like a networking event. And I went to that and then I learned, so the networking event I went to, it's through a company called Vets to Industry, V2I for short. But Vets to Industry has a lot of, I think it's like every 3 weeks or so, they have networking events. And I just learned a lot of, I learned that there's like thousands literally of companies out there and nonprofits and stuff that support veterans. I didn't know there was so many. So I did attend a lot of Vets to Industry networking events, which I thought were very useful, and it was nice to kind of like most of the people there are looking for jobs, not all of them, but most of them are looking for jobs. So it was nice because there was, people there that were recruiters from different companies that would be there, and there were people there that were like, oh, I'm just here to support, here's my story, and this is how I got a job. And it was just a lot of different, like levels of, support, I guess. But it was really nice. So, and it was always like a special speaker that would speak for a little bit about their story or whatever it is. And then we would like break out into small groups and have little like sessions where everybody kind of does their little elevator pitch. And it was kind of nice to also, I like that because it's kind of nice to like practice speaking, like selling yourself, because that's kind of hard to do for most people. So that was a really great opportunity to be like in small groups on Zoom, it's kind of like pretty casual. And there's maybe like 8 people or 5 to maybe it's, I don't know, I haven't been to a session in a while, but somewhere around there, like 5 to 10 maybe. And it'll be like, okay, everybody, share, give your little elevator pitch and stuff. So it was kind of nice to practice that and speak to different people and get, and they're all about, hey, like, let's help each other out. And their website basically has all the other companies out there, and maybe not every single one of them, but they're growing, their website, and like you could go there and see like, oh, I need educational help or whatever, and then you'll find like in the education section like what nonprofits or whatever companies help veterans for that, for that area. So it's really nice. So Vets to Industry was very, very helpful. And I attended quite a few of their networking events, and it was just nice to learn about different, organizations out there. And then Veterati is another one that was really helpful. And in Veterati, you get to basically pick, it's like a dating kind of website, I guess, but you're not dating, you're just picking a mentor that fits you, I guess. So they have like a little profile, and you can like read, what, like who, what they are, what their experience level is and stuff like that. And then you kind of build a profile, and then they have a profile, and then the Veterati matches you of how like your similarities and stuff. So it's kind of, it's really nice because it was kind of nice to, you could pick people like are in my area, or like, oh, I want project management experience people or whatever the topic, and they'll give you different mentors, and you could schedule an hour phone call with them. So I definitely took advantage of that and did a few mentoring sessions, like phone calls with Veterati. So that was very helpful. And then also, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forget the name of it. I did another mentoring one, and I forget the name of the company, but it was where they link you with just one mentor for a whole year. Wow. And wow. Okay. I'll let you know later which one it is, and then you can put it in your notes, in the show notes or whatever. Sure. I'm sorry, I don't know what the name of it is. It's okay. But anyways, so it's kind of like Veterati, where you like put a profile together, and they'll talk to you on the phone, they'll ask questions, they'll kind of get to know you, blah, blah. And then they'll be like, okay, we're going to put you with a mentor, and that's going to be your mentor for a whole year. So before I even thought about applying for Disney for SkillBridge, my mentor ended up being somebody that works at Disney. She's like, I think she's the resort general manager or something like that at a resort in North Carolina, one of the Disney resorts, or South Carolina, the Disney resort over there. But yeah, so it was really nice to have her as a mentor. And it was just kind of, talking about like my transition and how that's going, and just somebody to talk to. So it's really, really nice. It's very, very nice to have that. Yeah. So that was very helpful too. So I did that. So I took advantage of quite a few opportunities. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, just to back it up and just kind of recap a little bit is, take care of, there's a ton of things out there. You probably can't sift through them all, but find a couple, use what you can. And even, for example, Vets to PMs out there, they can also help out with, job search. They've got a job board and application, a bunch of free resources. So there's a ton of organizations out there that will support veterans, but you got to tap into them. So just like you grab 2-3 different resources and used them. But then I really want to key in on something super tactical that you said, and that was sell yourself, right? Super hard, like you said, for the humble veteran to go out there and do it. In fact, I just talked to a gal, I guess it was Monday, and they lost a job opportunity to a person, and this is rare because they got the hiring manager's feedback, and you don't always get it when you don't get picked. You got to fight for some feedback, and sometimes they'll give it to you and sometimes they won't. The reason that they didn't get the job was they didn't sell themselves as well as the other one. They were basically same qualifications. They would have been, on paper, basically the same. The other one didn't eat as much humble pie, and they were okay talking about their accomplishments and what they did and what their value to the company was and why they're the best person for the job, which is probably the hardest question, in my opinion, at an interview. Why are you the best candidate? I don't know if I'm the best candidate. I don't know the other candidates, but you can't say that, right? I mean, there could be a better candidate. Well, no, I'm the best candidate because I know my value, right? So, talk to me just a little bit on your experience in selling yourself. Like, how did you get over the hurdle of being humble?
Well, for the mentor I had from Disney, she set me up a mock interview with other like high leadership position people in Disney. So I got to go through a mock interview with, I want to say there was 4 of them, and they were all like VPs. Like it wasn't just like, somebody, I don't know, sweeping the whatever, you know what I mean? It was like very professional, high leadership position people in Disney. So it was very nice to go through an interview process. And she kind of was just like, okay, I'm just going to do this as like, if you were going to just be, a project manager or just any, like a general manager type of thing. And so they set up the questions like that. And they all had my resume, and, they asked me questions, and it was nice to kind of go through that with, professionals, and they all gave me feedback. And so that was really nice, because it kind of, that actually they touched on that. They were like, you need to be more confident in your answers, because I was just like, well, I just feel this, you know what I mean? It was just more like humble. I mean, I guess that's kind of my personality too, but she was like, no, you need to be more confident in your answers, and you need so it was good feedback. And I told her, I was like, please just like be honest, just tell me how it is, black and white, don't sugarcoat it. Like, I need this.
About my feelings.
Yeah, like hurt my feelings, please, whatever. So it was good feedback. So that was nice. And then also, oh man, why am I blanking out on these different organizations? There's another organization, another one that I owe you. Another organization that they helped me with my higher military helped me with my resume, and they also gave me a mock interview as well. So use these organizations and, to the advantage, for the people listening. Use these organizations, because it does help. Like, you might be like, oh, I'm good, I can speak, I don't have public speaking issues or whatever, but it is nice to, like, go through that process, like, hear yourself speaking, get that feedback, because you might not realize how you're saying things or how you sound or whatever the case may be. So higher military helped me with my resume, and they also gave me a mock interview as well. So I kind of had like two different ones, mock
Nice.
interviews. And Vesta Industry kind of also helped with that too, because I had to continuously at every small group, do my pitch type of thing. So that kind of helped as well. So it's like, honestly, it's like practicing, and getting different, I guess, different mock interviews set up, maybe, or different, different audience, like change your audience a little bit here and there, and get the feedback. So I think that's very helpful.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's multiple sets of perspectives, because there's multiple different types of hiring managers. Like, I don't hire the same way as somebody else hires, or, vice versa. Across the industry, we all are looking for different things. The hidden stuff that's not on the job opportunity listing is the culture fit, right? Do you fit with this company's culture? Do you believe in the same things as far as value and what we're producing and our vision of our company the same way, as the rest of the employees? Because the worst thing you can do in a team environment is bring somebody in that just completely just is caustic and destroys the team, right? If they disintegrate what you've built, you're kind of going backwards. So really cool. I mean, I love the multiple perspectives. You may even record yourself, right? Have a couple questions and record yourself so you can see your body language as you're answering, because there is different body language for confidence versus timidness. I mean, you pick it up, like people pick it, it's 80% of your communication is nonverbal. So I recommend, for anybody that's about to interview or wanting to learn some more interview tips, and even if you're not out in a crowd, write down some questions on the mirror and record it or something. Look at yourself while you're talking and be aware. So body awareness is one of the words that comes to mind. So now that we've moved on, you did the military thing, had the culture shift, did the Disney thing, used a lot of supporting veteran industries, and got honed in on the interview, got honed in on the resume, working at a job that you're enjoying. What's next? What's your next journey?
So I'm basically kind of learning a lot in my job right now, and learning like the different positions above me, like what they do, kind of like learning, I'm actually going to go to like a job, like a kind of like a conference type of thing with some of my coworkers. So it'll be exciting to like get to meet them in person, because it's all remote. So I'll finally get to meet them in person and learn, and hopefully be of value in that session. But it's basically, I'm just kind of like learning and growing at my job at the moment. And I mean, I'm definitely, because I like to train and mentor, I've become like the trainer whenever there's like newcomers, but I train just like basic stuff, what they're like what the basic like work is, I guess. And but yeah, so I'm just going through that again. I've had the job for 6 months already, so not that long. But my next step is I'm trying to start and grow a business. And it's mostly short-term rentals, like Airbnb stuff. So I currently have one long-term rental and one short-term rental. So the short-term rental I have is a few miles away from Disney. That happens to be next to Disney. But yeah, so I've had it for 1.5 years now. It's doing well, and I'm managing it myself. So I'm learning a little. I mean, I've kind of learned a lot already, but I initially, when I first got it, the first few months were pretty rough, because even though I felt like I was pretty prepared, it was a lot of learning to do there. But yeah, my next step is to kind of grow that a little bit and buy a few more properties, and get my portfolio up.
Yeah.
And manage those myself.
What's the ultimate goal? like have that to where you've got enough to where there's residual income that's just always flowing in.
Yes, for sure. And I kind of, not where I have like, I have 200 properties now, nothing crazy, nothing in the double digits. So basically like up to 10, maybe max. But I would say, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Once I get there, we'll see, but maybe at 6 or something, I'm not sure. But basically I'm trying to buy a property, one per year, and kind of slowly grow like that. And then once it gets too much for me to manage myself with a full-time job, I'll probably get a manager to manage it for me. And then eventually I'll just quit my full-time job and do that full-time. And then that will be my income. Cause I have VA disability, my pension, retirement paycheck. So I have, other funds, other forms of income as well. So it's not going to be, I'm not going to need so many properties to get like a comfortable income. So that's kind of my long-term goal. It's a long-term goal that takes baby steps, if you will. So I'm kind of like slowly, getting there and stuff like that, getting my ducks in a row to like slowly get there and get closer to that goal. So obviously I need a job. And so until I get there, but yeah, thank God the position I'm in now and the company I'm with now is it's great. It really is. The leadership's really great. The team's really great. The people are really great. So it's been a great experience so far. And I'm kind of helping where I can, extra things of where I can besides like my actual job, helping where I can. And again, I've become like the trainer, like when newcomers come, which is awesome and fine because I enjoy that anyways. And then slowly but surely I'll get there to my goal of and I actually took two entrepreneurship classes already. Once when I was in the military, and it was called Boots to Business, and then another one recently. It's through VEI. It's like Veterans Entrepreneurship Initiative, I think is what it stands for. And the Florida Veterans nonprofit paid for that nonprofit.
Nice.
So again, using up those resources and those companies that are there for us really to take advantage of, I could have paid for it myself, but they're there, like they're there for us to support us and to help us. And it's just kind of nice to have. It's really nice to have.
Right. The funding's there. So use the funding so they can get more funding. Because if the demand signal is too low, they just won't refund it. Like that's the kind of the way it works. And Jeremy Cinemaki out at Veterans Florida is awesome. Like he actually, I don't know if you know him personally through, going through Veterans Florida and then VEI, but he did property management for a while. So he may be a good resource for you to reach out to and say, hey, this is something that.
What's his name again?
Jeremy Cinemaki. I think he's the program manager for Veterans Florida. He was on the show, but he's like super nice, and he had like a B&B that he created, and may be able to give you some cool tips.
That's awesome. Yeah, I met quite a few people because they had and then VEI, I was going through their course, and there was an entrepreneurship like conference or something going on. And they were like, hey, we'll pay for you to go. Just like sign up and go. I'm like, okay. So like, once again, I signed up and went to the entrepreneur. Actually, that's where I saw Doc for the second time.
Oh, cool.
Because he was there. So, and then that's how I got here, So it's like everything kind of like one thing leads to another. So I definitely took advantage of a lot of different resources that are there for us. And again, like if I was more like, yes, like, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll go. Yes, I'll sign up. So, right. You grow and learn from those opportunities. And again, I would have never been in your podcast if it wasn't for those networking opportunities and growing, learning and growing opportunities. So it's kind of nice, definitely nice to take advantage of those.
Right. No, I can't agree more. I mean, I think the lesson that you're trying to articulate is being open to opportunities, even if it's not what you thought it was going to be, right? I mean, obviously you were looking at flexing entrepreneurship muscle, and that was the gym that you needed to go to at that moment. And the opportunity presented said, well, I could do this. I've got other things to do. I'm a busy person, but this network in a professional sense, and it's targeted at what you want to do, is going to provide return on that time. So another big thing, everybody uses ROI, but ROTI, return on your time investment, is a whole nother thing. You're going to save time because you're going to know who to pick up the phone and call, rather than just, hey, let's go with the phone book option, if that's even a thing anymore. But you know what I mean? Like, if you know who to reach to, and you can get things done.
Yeah, and VEI was kind of nice because once you're alumni, there's a whole other, like area, like what's it called, opportunity of like networking. People that you can network with their alumni, and you could go and ask questions, or hey, does anybody know of a good lawyer I could get, or CPI, or whatever, those type of things. So it's kind of nice to have that as well.
Great,
so, yeah.
Great. Wow. So lots of good information so far. As we start to wrap this up, what are the last couple tips and tricks that you might provide a military transitioning veteran to make a successful transformation, and then maybe a resource that they could go get tomorrow if they needed it, if they're running behind?
Sure. So for sure, networking is key. Like, networking for me was what got me to Disney, what got me to my current job, what got me to this podcast, like networking. So networking for sure. And there's so many networking opportunities. So networking is the biggest one. And then ways to network, Vesta Industry was huge for me. Every time I went to a networking event, I was like linking up with people on LinkedIn that were on the event. I was like, hey, nice to meet you. Where do you work? Type of thing. So I definitely got a lot of network, like contacts from there. And then when you find out about different opportunities, take them. And even if it might not fit exactly what your goals are, just take the opportunity anyways, because that could open up to another opportunity that does align with your goals. So again, I was, obviously you have to be smart with your time, like you said, and especially getting out of the military. The military does take up a lot of time, and it could be a lot of time away from your family as well. So I'm not saying to just continue that route either, but at the same time, when you're in transition, I think it's kind of key and important to get yourself out there, like your name out there, your face out there, network in person, online, however, on LinkedIn, and then the opportunities kind of come your way, and you learn about other opportunities. Or like, oh, we could, you get into this, or we could pay for this, class, or that, event, or whatever, and just try to take as much of those opportunities as you can to grow and learn and network, and that'll, bring more opportunities to you. So yeah.
Wow, too cool. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think just kind of like full circle, you got to get your face out there, not just once, not twice, like 17, 18, 19 times before there's like any kind of trust built for you to, stick your neck out for that other person too. So just, it's really cool. And I do think that, when you talk about networking, it's networking with a purpose, not just quantity, right? Have some kind of purpose. Go provide upfront value to somebody else. Sometimes that's how you open the door too. It's, you want to get on someone else's inner circle. Sometimes they got to see you as valuable as well. So if it's always an ask, and it's never a give, then a lot of times that they'll give it first, and then the doors will shut. So be someone that provides value on top of it. And then I love the, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? This opportunity may not be the one you're looking for, but it may open the door to the next opportunity. So it may be a gateway, is a word that a lot of people use. It's a gateway to another opportunity. So finding those gatekeepers and finding the people like, Doc and some of the other, like Jeremy Sinamaki, and that can lead to this. And, so before you know it, you're looking at Stu Smith and Doc at probably that last one, Stu Smith, probably right next to him with Bob. And that's Florida veteran owned businesses. So as an entrepreneur,
they were the ones that had the conference that I went to, and it was great to meet a lot of people there too. Mm-hmm.
I figured it was that one, but I mean, ultimately knowing Doc will get you to know Stu, and Stu can help you with Flutter, business ownership. So, and it works that way. That's just the way the world works. That's what these conferences.
For sure. And it's important to kind of, like you said before, how veterans don't tend to ask for help. Those mentoring opportunities are really wonderful. And like Verterati, was really wonderful for mentoring. And then also mental health. Like if it's something that's really like stressful and you have anxiety or whatever it is, again, it was not overwhelming, but it was, there was definitely anxiety and stress there for sure. Especially because I have a daughter. So I had to look for a preschool for her and daycare and stuff like that. And, it wasn't just me. It was like me and my daughter that I had to worry about. So, there's also a gazillion opportunities, or not opportunities, but like companies out there that will be of good support and resource for like if you're stressed out and have anxiety and things like that you could talk to, and there's a lot of support there too.
Yeah, so. Agreed. I mean, if you're not anxious about the transition, you're probably not breathing. Yeah, it's just
I feel I think like even for the easiest of transitions, it's pretty stressful. Yeah, so for sure.
No doubt. Yeah, we love it. And that's that's kind of one of these, like the last kind of statement is even the Disney internship probably eased a lot of immediate fear, because you're like, oh, I'm doing something. It's a SkillBridge. I'm learning. Even if it doesn't net a job at the end of the internship, it's building a civilian network. You're getting on the ground floor of building those cultural cues, how, you're going to walk like a duck and you're going to learn how to talk like a duck. So then maybe on that first interview with a real career job, you can be a duck, right? So, I mean, it's kind of one of those beautiful stair step things. And that's what I love about the SkillBridge program. I didn't get a chance to do it, but I fully believe in it. And I think it's one of those great opportunities that gives you the time and headspace to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. Maybe you never even wanted to work at Disney. Maybe that wasn't something that you wanted to do, and you actually were more comfortable jumping into a different job, but you had time to figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. It gives you, and Disney was really wonderful about giving me some flexibility with, again, I was kind of like reaching out. I was networking, even when I was at Disney, I was like networking with Disney, people. And I was like, hey, can I come out to your job site? And like, can you just show me around for an hour and when they meet, see what you do and how, because I was kind of, I was definitely open to the idea of working there. So I was kind of wanted to see what different, like where I could fit, where my skills fit best. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I was going for. So, but every time I met one person, they're like, oh, like you should, talk to this so-and-so and reach out to them. So then I reach out to them. They're like, oh, it just kind of kept going and kept going. So I definitely, they did give me the flexibility to kind of like just about every week I was there, I was meeting up with one or two people, for like about an hour or so. And it was just kind of nice to learn about different opportunities like that. But it's definitely, don't be scared of getting out there and learning and trying to, like if you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, like you just kind of like, when SkillBridge, I think kind of, again, even though it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna like, that's the job for me, it wasn't like that per se, but it did give me the flexibility to kind of, go that route and like, try to figure out, because in the military, it's like, it could happen to some people, but for the most part, you're just like going and going and going, working. It's not like they're going to be like, hey, you could take the last year off and just do whatever and figure out your life. Like you just have to show up to work, of course, still go to meetings, still have deadlines, still, have to do, get the mission done and stuff like that. So it's not like where I was at, my supervisor did allow some time and opportunity for that and kind of gave me slightly less responsibilities towards the end. So that was very helpful and nice. But it was still, in the military, just at least for me, I was just like, I had to get this done. I had to, so it's like it didn't, it's like I had to be at two spaces at one time, and that wasn't really much very possible. But he did help, he did kind of alleviate me from some responsibilities. So it kind of helped ease a little bit into it, where I did have a little bit more time for that. But yeah, it's kind of hard to have that. It's SkillBridge, you hopefully would get a little bit of more time like that, but also in the same time, you're like learning and growing from what you're doing too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
sure.
it's really great. I think it was a really great opportunity for sure.
Well, I really appreciate you being on the show. I think there are lots of words of wisdom, lots of things for people to learn from, and maybe repeat your success in it. And ultimately, I heard a bunch of things, but networking really stood out. And then, using the SkillBridge and resources and some of the other stuff out there that will help you transition and be successful, right? I mean, that's the whole end of the idea.
For sure. Yes.
All right. Well, like you said again, once again, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time, and hope to see you again.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you for tuning in and spending a bit of time with us at the Military Transition Academy, powered by Vets to PM. If we piqued your interest, but you want more details, please head over to the website vetstopm.com and see if we can help prepare you for a better tomorrow or a future meaningful and lucrative career.